Draft ended on Saturday, and then the transfer portal closed the following day. It is closed, but we still don't know how many people specifically are in it. We're going to get into the whole firestorm debate in just a second, and the players specifically who sparked this from Pittsburgh. But what was your overall reaction to the end of the transfer portal window yesterday?
Yeah, kind of lackluster Sunday, but that doesn't mean the rest of Monday and Tuesday will be just the same, because they do have 2 business days. The compliance department's due to put names in. Look, I think the NCAA transfer portal, I love the fact that players have the flexibility to move from team to team, but there needs to be some kind of structure. That's the biggest thing for me. Let's have some windows. Let's have a window after the season, a window after fall camp, or spring practice, I should say. Let's structure this a little bit, because look, I don't think that coaches should complain about an awful lot. They're rich men, and a lot of these problems are rich man's problems. But I would not want anybody, even my worst enemy, to have to deal with the roster management. You could lose 15 players in one day. You could go from a team that is fully stacked to a team that's operating on de facto NCAA probation with scholarship limits in one day. So they've got to do something. They've got to put guardrails up. I think the transfer portal's fine. And if you want to do it for NIL purposes, go nuts. Go get that money. But you can't do it at any point. I know there's the deadline that was Sunday. There needs to be specific windows. Otherwise, you get mass chaos, which is what you have right now.
And yeah, you're right. I mean, nobody's going to feel sorry for the coaches who are making $10 million a year. Dabo Swinneys quoted as saying, "It's chaos right now, tampering galore, adults manipulating young men. Education is the last thing now." What's he getting at?
He's right. He's 100% right. I know Dabo, he's been out smoking on this, and a lot of folks like to criticize him for some of the things he says about players and NIL and making money and all that stuff. He's right. It is chaos right now. There is tampering galore happening right now. You think Georgia wide receiver Jermaine Burton goes from winning a national championship against Alabama and 2 days later joining the Crimson Tide just because he thinks, oh yeah, that might be a good idea? No, that's not what happens. It is tampering galore all over the place. Dabo Swinneys is right. Look, tampering happened anyway, but this is more obvious, more outspoken, more direct tampering that is happening from coaching staffs. Because in years past, a lot of times, yeah, you had coaches sort of going through other players that they know are familiar with potential transfers to sort of lure them in. Right now, it's not just free agency, it is the wild, wild west. And they're, like I said, the same thing with the transfer portal. You have to have some sort of guardrails with all of this. Otherwise, this is just not sustainable.
So why did Jordan Addison create this huge firestorm over the weekend when it was reported that he was going to enter the transfer portal and maybe USC is going to give him a ton of money to go from Pitt out west? And where does that stand right now? Because officially, we don't even know if he's in the transfer portal at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know specifics of it, but I think in this case and a lot of other cases, if you have a star like that, I mean, he's the reigning Biletnikoff Award winner, and he has a quarterback in Kedon Slovis who's pretty darn good. It's not Kenny Pickett, but Kedon Slovis can play. If you're Jordan Addison, what's the motivation? To win a national championship? You're probably not going to do that at USC. To catch, 100 passes for 1,400 yards? You've already done that at Pittsburgh. You can do it there again. I think a lot of this is NIL money. Good for these players for going after that money if that's something they want. But again, guardrails need to be in place. And I think the motivation to become a star, even if it's not a ton of NFL or of NIL money, if you go to LA under a Lincoln Riley offense, play with Caleb Williams, play with Mario Williams, have Travis Dye as a running back, you've got a really potent offense in one of the most marketable cities in the entire country, in the entire world. So even if directly NIL money is not the motivating factor, the fact that he can become a legitimate superstar, not just in the college football world, but throughout the entire sports world as casual fans sort of get into the Lincoln Riley era at USC, I think that certainly is attractive for them as well.
Yeah, it's the convergence right now of the transfer portal, the one-time transfer rule that was put into effect, and quote-unquote NIL, which is really, for these big schools, it's not NIL, it's pay for play, right? I mean, they're putting these collectives together, and they're getting a bunch of money to give these players just to come to their school and play football, right?
Yep. That's exactly what's happening. And look, if you want to spend $8 million and buy a national championship, if you're a booster, if that brings you happiness, okay, go for it. But I do think the market will correct itself after a couple years.
Yeah, that's what we're hearing from a lot of our experts trying to stay calm right now. It's tough, especially if you're a fan of one of these schools like Pittsburgh or, a smaller high-level school that just doesn't have the money that, say, a USC might have. Barrett Sallee with us here on CBS Sports HQ, keeping our eye on the transfer portal situation. Again, the deadline was yesterday, but we don't know as of now. We won't know until 24, 48 hours from now who all exactly is in the transfer portal. Cover 3 podcast, it's where it's at. Bud Elliott has begun his summer school series. He started with Clemson. Check it out today.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.